You're listening to the Just Go Bike podcast. We're all about the culture of bicycling just for the fun of it. Your host, Kathy Murphy from the Morphology Podcast and Andrea Parrott from Parrott Talk are joined by a wide variety of guests each week that delve into the social side of cycling. With tales from RAGBRAI Nation, come for the bikes, stay for the fun, and leave with a smile. And now, here are your hosts, Murph.
Hey, that's me.
And AP.
And that's me. Hello, Murph.
Well, hello. How's it going, AP?
Oh, it's fantastic. As a Hawkeye fan, I am glowing over here because Caitlin Clark has hit the all-time points record for men and women in the NCAA.
Yes, I don't know any Iowans that did not watch the game this past Sunday, but oh my gosh, it was an exciting game all the way around on top of her making that record.
Yeah, it was insane. I mean, you could just hear the electricity from the TV broadcast where anytime any of the Iowa players did anything, it would go, it was crazy.
Well, and I was at a bar near where I live, and there is like the actual bar, and then there's like a garage that they've converted into a secondary bar, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And it was a beautiful day, so all the doors were propped open, but the TV in the garage area had like maybe a 2-second delay from the TV I was watching. And so like a big score would happen and everyone in the bar would be like, woo, yay. And then like 2 seconds later, the garage would have an uproar. So it was like, it was just kind of cool. You could hear the excitement twice.
Yeah, it was really cool. And there were all sorts of celebrities that showed up for the game. I mean, if you're interested in it, then I know you've already received all this news, so I don't have to go over the whole thing. But it was a really cool moment for Iowa, for women's sports, for basketball in general. I can't wait to see where Caitlin goes from here.
Oh, for sure. It was pretty exciting.
Yeah. So how about you? What's new with you?
I recently got accepted to a gravel camp. Have you ever heard of a gravel camp?
No, but congratulations.
Yeah, it's coming up the end of April. It's going to be up in Minnesota. And, you know, I already know how to ride my bike on gravel, but the reason for going to this camp is to learn a little bit more about, cornering, going fast on gravel, what to do when gravel gets really thick, how to make my tire pressure correct. So it's just going to be fun to be with other women who are learning a little bit more about gravel, but also just to I don't know, learn a little bit more about what I'm doing wrong and what I can do better.
Well, yeah. And on top of that, you get to ride 3 days of gravel. So
yeah,
how do you
for
go wrong?
sure.
I mean, we always joke because my approach to gravel is to just send it. But I would love to know some more specific details on how, more like technical info or like how you actually are supposed to do it, just to maybe, so I'm hoping to learn a lot from you once you come back.
Yeah. I will agree. You and I, we're both on gravel. We're riding our bikes. We're having fun. If it gets a little sketchy, you just go super fast, and then I panic and either try and find the perfect line or wiggle my way to wherever it's safe again.
Yep. Just don't hold on to those handlebars too tight and just try to go in a straight line. That's all I got to say.
Yeah.
So
anyway, gravel camp's coming up in the end of April for me, but here we are. March has arrived. And for those of us in cold weather, cold winter states, I'm going to speak for Iowa at least, but we're starting to experience a bit of spring here and there.
Yes, a breath of spring. It's been awesome. All my crocuses are coming up. So, it's really, really springy here. And now that we're in March, we can sort of maybe say that it's kind of spring. In Iowa, we always have like 5 fake springs where it'll snow again or something. But it does kind of feel like spring here. So that's really cool. And there have definitely been more and more people out on the trails getting their bike miles in.
I did see Mr. Clarence Bosenberg, who, if anybody remembers, we've had several episodes where we've talked about Clarence, and he was on an episode, but he turned 98 last week, and he is still out riding his bike almost every day that he can.
Well, and Clarence would know more than anybody the value of getting in some miles in the early spring when you really need to stretch those legs. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So And for those of you just first getting out and starting to rack up your RAGBRAI miles, I think we've already mentioned it before, but Coach Dave Ertl's training plan is out. So if you need some motivation, or if you'd like some more exact numbers about how much you should be training based on the recommendation of a real cycling coach, print off his plan and get started. It's available on RAGBRAI.com.
And in a couple of weeks, we will have Coach Ertl on this very podcast to give more details about his plan and how we can get ready for all of those hills coming up in July.
Hills, hills, hills. Yep. Coach Ertl has been coaching for ages. I mean, for RAGBRAI since 2009.
Oh, wow.
And, for everybody's training journey is a little bit different, but if you follow Coach Ertl's plans, you're going to be ready for RAGBRAI.
Well, one thing Coach Ertl will not be coaching us on is the topic of today's episode.
Nice segue. So did anyone else out there see the guy who biked all of RAGBRAI backwards?
Okay, I did not see him, but his name is Will Walker, and he is on today to tell us more about his journey to becoming a backwards biker.
That's so awesome. Biking RAGBRAI forwards is an accomplishment in and of itself, but to ride it backwards, I mean, that seems like it would be difficult to say the least.
I know. My neck hurts just thinking about him because he sits on his handlebars and he's pedaling his bike forward, but since he's sitting backwards, his legs are going the opposite way of a forward biker. And he's, his back is backwards, so he's looking over his shoulder the whole time.
I wonder if he switches which shoulder he looks over from time to time.
Well, you will find out in this interview because I ask him the same question.
Oh, all right. Well, I can't wait to hear his story and how he really does it.
All right. Well, let's get to it. Here's Will Walker, the backwards biker. Okay, a very warm welcome to Mr. Will Walker. Hey, Will.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. So listeners already know who you are because they probably read the title of this podcast episode, but I am more than excited to have you on the podcast to really tell us why, oh why, you would ride your bike backwards for hundreds and hundreds of miles, right?
I mean, so for me, riding backwards is my normal. So it's not a crazy thing to me.
So if you were to ride RAGBRAI forward, that would have been extremely strange or different for you.
It would have been 100 times harder, I'd think.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, I'm excited to talk to you more about it. But first, will you tell us where you're located and maybe what biking is like there?
Yeah, so right now I'm in Anchorage, Alaska.
Ooh.
I was here. The biking scene here is very mountainous, so it's more of like mountain biking and for fun and recreationally. So road biking isn't really a thing, and I'm kind of like a hybrid because I'm on a BMX bike that has a Shimano 11-speed internal hub that allows me to do road biking things. So I'm kind of just this hybrid kind of. I want to stick to paved, but I can ride gravel, but
yeah,
I just high speed. So yeah, it's not the best place to be, but I do travel to Utah and Hawaii and stuff to train for certain things.
Sure. And I am going to make the assumption that Anchorage, Alaska is not the warmest place in the United States, but does it have 4 seasons? Like, do you actually have spring, summer, winter, and fall?
You do. You have, 3 to 4 months of summer if it's not getting rained on, but it's a good summer, and there is some days where 24-hour sunlight. So
okay.
You got to adjust to that. Fall is like a few days, maybe. It just kind of goes right from summer to winter.
Okay. And then do you bike outside in the wintertime?
Not yet.
Okay. All right.
I thought about doing like a fat tire backwards bike run just to see what it'd be like, but I haven't dove into that at all yet.
Yeah. This was several years back, but I applied for like a grant to get to bike across Alaska. and I did not win the grant, but it was interesting how, they had us actually figure out the map on our own. And there's not a whole lot of roads in Alaska, but I can't believe how many times I read in the fine print to be on the alert for moose and bear and all of these animals that were way bigger than I was. So I guess secretly I'm a little bit glad I did not end up riding my bike across Alaska.
Yeah, the wildlife is pretty active here. Moose walk around like dogs, bears walk around like dogs. So you really have to be mindful of where you're going and what trail you're on, and just to be protected and just be cautious. And it's really something you don't think about until you're deep in the woods and
Yeah, like face to face with one of those huge animals.
yeah.
So when you do your road biking, like, do you have a favorite either route or road or area that you go to? I mean, maybe Hawaii is the answer, but maybe, well, you tell us.
So right now, when it is summer in Alaska, I stick to the coastal trail. The
Oh.
coastal trail kind of runs from downtown kind of to Kincaid, like behind the airport, but it's just along the ocean. It's like an ocean, and it's super popular. And I really do like circuit runs. So I'll do like elevation and just long distance. I can't tell you the mileage off the top of my head, but it's a pretty good popular run for most locals in Alaska.
And this is probably a dumb question, but are you always riding backwards on your bike?
Yeah, always. Where my seat actually is now a camera mount, which most of the RAGBRAIers saw. They thought it was like a gravity thing, because a center of gravity balance thing, because I'm sitting on the handlebars. So a lot of people thought it was for that, but it was actually just like a utility bar that I mount my air pump on and my camera so I can get good shots.
Okay. So you have to, like, the big question here is, how in the heck did you start pedaling backwards? Like, how did this start?
So when I was younger, I kind of did it as a joke, like a see if I can do it kind of thing with my friends, because I was raised riding BMX, street and skate parks and stuff, and I was just sitting on the handlebars one day and I was like, I wonder if I can ride like this. And that was the start. I mean, that was pretty much the beginning of like the whole backwards bike.
Okay, so, you might have been a teenager or a preteen when you did that, and other kids probably have done it too, but something in your head made you want to keep doing it and keep doing it. And now you're an adult and you're still biking that way. So, like, what made you decide to keep going doing that?
So honestly, it's ergonomically, it's easier to bike backwards because I'm in an upright position, right? I'm not leaned over, I'm not hunched over on the handlebars. I'm a completely upright position and I'm just pushing down, right? So it works different muscles on the quads, and on the legs, and it's really just crazy. And I've tried to talk to researchers about exercise research about it, but I haven't dug into it that much. But I know it works a complete different muscle group, and it's easier uphills, it's easier just biking in general. It just looks unsafe.
Well, and to me, it looks uncomfortable. Like, will you describe to the listeners who maybe didn't see you on RAGBRAI or haven't seen you on social media, what exactly you're doing, like where you're positioned on the bike to be able to pedal it backwards?
Yeah, so I'm seated on the handlebars. There's a crossbar on my handlebars that I'm seated on. And during the 500 miles, I actually wrapped that in like an ergomat material, and then like padded tape and all this stuff. And I'm kind of in a place where I'm looking for somebody to design me a seat for the handlebars, because right now it's just Frankenstein. I just throw a hand on there, so I'm not sitting on the bar for these long rides, and I just sit up there and pretty much just that's my seat position, and I'm just sitting backwards looking at the rear tire.
And then where are your hands?
Primarily on the handle grips themselves, but
Okay.
I can bike no hands and just steer, with my bottom half.
Yeah.
for miles too. That's normal. That's natural too. It's kind of different.
Okay, so I'm thinking if this was me, right? If today I decided I'm going to ride my bike backwards, which um, will not happen, but I'm just pretending. I would think that I would really have to practice for my neck not to be extremely uncomfortable. Did you feel like you had a process of learning that or getting your upper body in shape to be twisted all the time?
Yeah. So at first, when I was really narrowing it down and how to do it correctly, I would just look behind me and it really kinked my left side of my neck. A lot of people know that's seen me bike. I only look left. I look right and it like throws me off for
Oh,
some reason.
okay.
So I primarily always look left, but now I turn with my torso. So I like turn my torso as much as I can, and then I'll just slightly look over my shoulder. And that's kind of been my natural kind of position for this whole cycling thing I'm doing.
Okay. And you gave us a little tiny bit about like special changes that you made to your bike. So you, at least for RAGBRAI, you wrapped the area where your butt sits and you took your seat off because you don't need it. Any other changes you made to the bike?
You know, the bike I'm riding is a Specialized P20. It's a 20-inch BMX bike. It's pretty standard. Everything's pretty much stock except for it's a custom internal hub built by Nelson Sherry. He works at the Alaska Bike Shop here in town. And I'm very fortunate for him to be crazy enough to build it because he had to stretch my frame, notch my frame so the chain would fit. Pretty much complete Frankenstein build, but just adding those gears for the hills and the incline, decline, everything for the long runs really made it possible for me.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as that and the padding, it's pretty much just a normal bike.
Have you ever turned around and rode it normal? Or not normal, I shouldn't say normal. Rode it traditionally?
I do sometimes, and it's weird because when I pedal forwards, I feel like I'm off balance for some reason.
Yeah.
And it's so I'll do it when I like cross busy roads or something just to get across quick. But as soon as I get back to the road I'm going, I just instantly turn around and just start taking off like that again.
And that's truly your comfort level at this point because you've been doing it for a long time, correct?
Yeah, I've been doing it for quite a bit, and I just keep pushing and pushing and pushing my limits and just getting more comfortable because I know if you're biking backwards, especially in some of those hills on RAGBRAI, if I go wrong at any point, it's direct head trauma. And
Sure.
many people on that ride have made that very clear. So I try to be as safe and cautious as I can and just get better as I ride.
Well, let's get into your RAGBRAI experience. First off, have you done RAGBRAI before this past year in 2023?
And now, time for a training tip.
Let's talk training for hill climbs. Remember, hill climbing is both physical and mental when it comes to the challenge. Consistent practice and gradual progression will contribute to your improvement over time. Do not wait until June or July to start your hill training. Embrace the challenge, stay focused, and celebrate your achievements as you conquer each hill. A few tips that go along with training for hill climbs. Focus on your breathing. I've mentioned this in previous episodes about gear breathing. Pay attention to your breathing. Inhale deeply and exhale fully. Controlled breathing provide your muscles with the oxygen they need and can contribute to better endurance. Also, build up your leg strength. Incorporate strength training exercise now into your routine to build leg strength. Simple things like squats, lunges, or going to the gym and getting some leg presses in can help improve your power for those hill climbs. And choose the right hills. When you're outside biking, start with hills that match your current fitness level and gradually progress to more challenging climbs. As your strength and endurance improve, you can tackle steeper and longer ascents. And the last thing, stay positive. Maintain a positive mindset during climbs. Focus on your progress and the satisfaction of conquering each hill. Visualization techniques, imagining yourself successfully reaching the top can also be helpful. And now back to the show.
I have not done RAGBRAI. I didn't even know what RAGBRAI was. My buddy lives in Iowa that I work with, and he knows I ride backwards. Like, hey, man, you should check out this event. It's like the world's largest cycling event. I'm like, okay. So I just registered for it. And I had no idea what it was or how it got started or the miles or just anything. I just registered for this thing. And then I started looking into it. And at first I was cautious about that many people that year and me biking backwards. I was just cautious about how people would react.
Right.
So, I messaged RAGBRAI on Instagram, I think, and asked if it was okay. So I got pre-approval from somebody on the main RAGBRAI page. And then I actually posted a video on Facebook. I was like, hey, I'm new to RAGBRAI. I'm going to do it backwards. And I got just 100% hate. I don't know if you're on that page. But...
Yeah, I saw it. And I, to be honest, I was thinking, I wasn't hateful towards you, but I'm like, what is this guy thinking? Like, there's 50,000 people, or maybe more, maybe less, but how is he going to control his bike? Or more importantly, how is he going to control the people around him?
Yeah, so that was a big eye-opener, just the amount of negativity and just because it's unfamiliar, right? People are uncomfortable with unfamiliar things. And for me, I was just, I took it for what it was. And, it's just until they saw me ride is when I got the support, right? And it turned out to be an awesome ride and full support. It was just a really amazing turnaround from what I was expecting from posting on Facebook.
I never did see you actually pedaling, so I can't tell you, what people around you were saying or doing. How did you do RAGBRAI? Were you camping or hoteling or RV?
I was dating this girl at the time, and she would meet me in each town, and I rented this RV kind of thing, and we just stayed in this camper van because I wasn't used to the mass amount. It looked like almost like an army base setup with the tents and the everything. So we just camp at the site, and then I'd just leave when everyone else left in the morning and just kind of do that route.
Mm-hmm. So, okay, take away the social media aspect of it, but when you're actually out there biking across Iowa, what are some of the common things that people would ask you?
It was pretty crazy. First, I couldn't listen to music because I was getting talked to so much. And it was mostly just why. Like, why are you doing this? Are you going the whole way? People told me I'm going the wrong way 100 times. I heard that every town I went through. And it was just mostly all comes down to why. Or you're crazy or you're insane. Or but it was just the why pretty much that people tried to ask me.
Mm-hmm. What did you think of RAGBRAI just overall?
Overall, I loved it. I loved the people. The people really helped me get through the whole event. I wanted to quit every day. The heat, I wasn't used to that kind of heat, the humidity. I thought Iowa was flat. Iowa is definitely not flat.
That's for sure.
It was really hard mentally. Physically, it wasn't that bad. Just mentally with the heat and the exhaustion but the people were so supportive. Every time I take a break, they'd be like, "Well," they'd call me Alaska. They'd be like, "Alaska, how you doing? Are you right? Anything?" And I'm like, "No, I'm good, man." They're like, "Keep going. This is crazy." So the drive, the people really made it for me. And when I think of RAGBRAI, that's what I think of the people, the community of cyclists. Everybody's out there to have a good time and be supportive and help each other out. And when I saw is it the Air Force team that rides and helps people?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they really inspired me to give back to the community. And I rode with a few of them. I see all the tubes and extra bananas and stuff in their pocket for people. And it was really inspirational, eye-opening how everyone from like different backgrounds and stuff come together to just who love bikes and just have this big ride and just big party. And I just love it personally. And I want to make a tradition, just always come back and always do it backwards. And so I'm looking forward to this year.
Ah, that's excellent to hear. We'll be excited to have you back for another year of RAGBRAI. And was that your first time in Iowa?
Yes, that was my first time in Iowa.
All right. And like you said, it is definitely not flat, but were you surprised at like, I don't know, the terrain, the farm fields, the hospitality?
The hospitality is what surprised me the most, especially during the storm that hit, and it kind of blew everybody 10 away. And, you know, I like hunkered down in a parking lot and kept my bike in the van. And I don't know who it was, but she's like, "Hey, come in this house and get away from the storm." Like I didn't even know her, you know, and just opening your personal space up to complete strangers was new to me, you know. And I'm like, "Oh no, I'm all right." But that was like that everywhere, you know. Everybody just wanted to take pictures and talk, and everyone just, you know, it felt normal, and it was really cool.
Yeah. And you're definitely considered, RAGBRAI famous now because, the simple fact that you rode your bike backwards and you were friendly and engaging and talked to people. But do you have any like fun memories you want to share?
As far as memories, it's all kind of just clashed together as just one big great memory. Um,
And did you actually make it to the end and dip your tire in the river?
yeah, I did make it to the end. That was a big welcoming. I feel like every stop we went to for the day, it was just a huge welcoming. All I heard was, "He made it, the backwards guy." Like, so I don't know if they weren't expecting me to make it, but it was just like this huge thing, and it was just really awesome to be a part of that.
Yeah, I think, everyone. I'm just speaking for myself, but it felt like going to the river was a huge accomplishment just because of we survived the big storm Friday night, but also the heat. I mean, it was extreme heat. I hope that we don't have that this year as well.
Yeah, so that heat, I think it was on Thursday or one of the days. It was the hottest day. I talked to some big groups, and some of the people dropped out just because of the heat index. And
Hmm.
um, I just really just wanted to push through, and I'm glad I did, because you know I learned a lot about myself just reaching like different tiers of tiredness.
Hmm.
And you know, but the people really just kept me going. Just, "Hey man, you got this, you got them." I'm like, "Ah, I got it."
Yeah, yeah.
You know. But yeah, it's definitely some of the most humid heat that I've ever endured during a ride. Um, and I did the Sentry too. I didn't know what it
Oh,
was.
wow.
Yeah, so I didn't know what the Sentry was until I was biking with a bunch of oh, they're all decked out like Lance Armstrong. They're all these carbon fiber bikes. They're like, "Hey man, you gonna do the Sentry?" I'm like, "Sure." You know, so me and this group of like 10 turned down this road, and everyone else was going straight. And I'm like, "What did I just say sure to?" And so during the ride, I had no idea where we were going. I had no idea what road I went up, but it came out to be the Century ride. And I was like, "Oh," and people were like, "What, this event isn't hard enough? You want to do the Century?" I was like, "You know what? I just came here to do it all." So I'm glad I got to meet those people and take that turn, because I got a lot of recognition for just doing the Century part.
Heck yeah. And just, simple things like I'm having trouble picturing how you would, when you get those really steep hills, when you're facing forward on a bike, you can use different muscles to, you know, gear down and pedal harder or stand up. But what do you do on a backwards bike?
On the decline,
Incline.
incline. So incline for me is it's simple, right? I love doing elevation rides.
Really?
And yeah, I just go down to my lowest gear and just keep pedaling, because it's all just a downward push for me.
Mm-hmm. I
Nothing
guess,
really
yeah, I guess
changes.
that's true because your body is positioned backwards, so it's a whole different setup.
Yeah, so I mean, I love incline because I can just push harder down, and yeah, nothing really changes. I can stand up if I really want to,
Hmm.
or I'll hover above the bars, because that ride really dug in my butt a lot. But
Yeah.
as far as the incline, I felt like every hill was pretty easy on that ride.
Wow, that's awesome. And how do you go about training? So, like, you said that you want to come back and do RAGBRAI again. So, how are you going to train for another, upwards towards 500-mile bike ride?
So right now, my training, because it's winter in Alaska, so when I train, it's kind of hard to train on a stationary bike because I pedal a different way.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll just, like, I'm going to Hawaii next week to train on some of the hardest elevation climbs in the world, and so that's where I kind of use my training grounds. I do like elevations for circuit runs, or I'll go to all these high canyons and just do elevation rides or whatever. But it has to be on the bike, because
Yeah.
stationary, it's kind of difficult, because I bike at like a high intensity when I'm actually biking, and it's hard to mimic that in like a gym setting.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds, I feel pretty confident that you are going to continue backwards biking for the unforeseeable future. And you're coming back for RAGBRAI, and you're also lucky enough to get to go to Hawaii. Do you have any other adventures on the horizon?
So I'm in the process of building a brand, because during the whole ride, people are like, what are you riding for? Like, can I donate to a fundraiser or
Yeah.
whatever? And I got all these questions, and when I was riding, I was just doing it for me. It's my passion, right? So that was just what I was there for. But during this year, I've built this brand, and it's called Against the Odds
Hmm.
Cycling. And I got a lot of merchandise and stickers I'm going to bring to RAGBRAI this year. And pretty much it's just a um, purpose beyond profit brand. So I bike and I chase the impossibles, and I fundraise to give directly back to the biking community. And so I'm kind of going out with that as far as like my progression in the future.
That's amazing. And is
Yeah,
is that something that's live at this point where people can go look, or do they have to wait for RAGBRAI?
probably wait to RAGBRAI. Right now, I'm getting all the merch and all the
Yeah.
stickers, everything together. I'm getting websites built, and I'm getting like platforms directed to that built. But all proceeds are going straight back to the biking community. I'd like to partner up with maybe the Air Force Cycling and support them a little bit. But RAGBRAI really inspired me to give back, because just the hospitality that I encountered on the ride. And I'm excited for this to, hopefully it gets enough traction to where I can positively just give back, just keep giving back as I chase the impossible in life.
It is a great idea. And in theory, most of the time you have a captive audience because people are so intrigued about what you're doing.
Yeah, so that's one thing that's good about it. It's like a niche kind of thing. I feel like I'm a biking billboard. So I feel like for promotion wise, it's my brand. I'll send you a picture, or I'll send you a few stickers if you want.
Yeah,
Um,
great.
it has me biking backwards. So if you look at the brand logo, it just screams that's Will Walker. So so
Perfect.
hopefully, yeah, hopefully I can just bring it with me to RAGBRAI, and see what happens, and then just give right back to the biking community. Just make positive change for future cyclists.
I love it. And if there are listeners out there that maybe didn't see you on RAGBRAI or are not quite sure what backwards biking is all about, where can they go to see like some of your videos?
So right now I'm in the process of building an Instagram, and that's where I'm primarily basing this brand off, and I'm posting videos, and I'm posting all these travel places I'm going to, and that's where I primarily post all the videos.
Mm-hmm.
The username is underscore Will X Walker, and it's just my personal blog. Anybody can follow it, and that's primarily where I'll do my training videos, my prep for events, and then you can actually see the brand itself on there. And hopefully, get a follow and message me if you want, and we'll talk about cycling or crazy bike ideas.
Excellent. And will you say that one more time, the username?
Yeah, it's _Will X Walker.
And at this point in your life, have you met anyone else that also backwards bikes?
So I have.
Oh.
I have met some backwards cyclists. They don't do it to like world record standards. They don't do it, to Ripley's Believe It or Not standards, but they do just recreationally bike backwards because there is health benefits of biking backwards. I heard you burn 16% more calories. I don't know how true that is, but there's big articles on like the knees over toes guy. He really does backwards everything. And so, along this crazy idea, there is, proven health benefits to biking backwards. So I have met a few guys who do it, but I don't think they're doing it to the same crazy extent I'm doing it to.
To the level that you do it.
Yeah.
Well, there is a guy that does RAGBRAI. He's been doing it for a very long time. His name is Dean Mathias, and he does not pedal backwards, but he pedals without a seat. Like he has no saddle. So he basically is on a regular bike, but he stands the whole time. And I don't know if this is the reason why he does it, but he uses that space to carry, kind of like the Air Force does. He carries extra tubes and he carries a full-size pump. And so if he sees anybody on the side of the road that needs some sort of help, he will pull over and help them. So he has kind of the same mindset as you, but obviously, the way he bikes is much different. But it'd be fun to see you two out there together sometime.
Yeah, no, that would be awesome. I saw a lot of creative bikes on that route. The big tire penny farthing, I think it's called.
Yeah, the red, white, and blue one.
Yeah, I saw him and the unicycles and, stuff that I would never consider doing. And they're probably thinking I'd never consider biking backwards. So
right.
It's just 2 levels of crazy.
Yeah, that's right.
But I love seeing it. I love seeing the creativity on RAGBRAI and just everything as a whole.
Yeah. Well, I know I'm, for one, excited to have you back in Iowa, and I'm going to make sure that I run into you at some point just to say hi, but also to get a photograph of you biking backwards. But all right, Will, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. And I hope that Hawaii gets you all kinds of training and gets you ready for coming back to Iowa in July.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for tuning in to the Just Go Bike podcast. Murph and AP will be back next week. In the meantime, check us out on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and X, formerly known as Twitter. And if you would like to contact Murph and AP with a comment about the podcast, or maybe you have a topic in mind, email them at justgobikepodcast@gmail.com. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast, especially if you're a fan. Until next time,
Just go bike!
theme song by Ryan Steer, logo by Suzanne Milosevic, produced by Kathy Murphy, social media by Andrea Parrott, intro by Pumpkin. Until next time, just go bike.